LaGrange.
You better buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a show to watch.
From Tiger Communications.
Jackson, touchdown.
For 20 years, East Alabama's sports talk leader.
Swing and drive, belts and right.
Sportscall.
Oh, what a dunk.
Call in now at 887-3401 locally.
Right through, he got it.
Or 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free.
Struck him out.
And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains. Sports Call.
Hello, everyone, and good Thursday afternoon. Welcome in to the latest edition of Sports Call. I am Andy Graham alongside Randy Lee, and we'll be with you for the next 2 hours, taking your phone calls and discussing everything relevant in the world of sports. We appreciate all of you so much out there joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. You can check us out on our Facebook page, or you can send us a tweet at SportsCallAU, but we'd love to hear from you personally. So give us a call at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free, or locally at 334-887-3401 on the Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline. You can also check us out at sportscallauburn.com. Got the website up and going there. You can actually watch the show on a web stream. You can download the mobile app. If you're out and about away from the local area, you can check us out and tune us in no matter where you are. So many ways to tune us in. We'd love to hear from you today, though. So give us a call, 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free, locally at 334-887-3401. Sports Call today is brought to you by Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin, the region's best mortgage professionals and rates for all new home or refinancing mortgage services. Come to the right place. Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin. You can check them out at homeplacemtg.com. Again, we appreciate all of you out there joining us today. We've got a great show planned for you, a couple of great guests. Auburn defeated Florida yesterday, 71-49 in the first round of the SEC tournament. They had a 4-game winning streak going. The women are playing Texas A&M right now. Texas A&M number 18 in the country, 22-8 on the season. That game again at 2:30. Looks like the Tigers are struggling. What's the score now?
Yeah, update on the score: 48-33. Texas A&M leading. 8:24 to go in the second.
Yeah, considering that Texas A&M beat Auburn by 33 earlier in the year in College Station, that one back in February, you can tell that Auburn has made some progress down the stretch here. Like I said, they have won 4 straight, win 3 straight SEC games to finish the season, and then beating Florida last night very handily, the biggest win I think they've had in the SEC tournament in quite a while. So that all happening there in North Little Rock at the Verizon Arena. Hadn't had a lot of chance to talk about the women's basketball program this year. They've had a really tough year, but only 1 senior on this team, only 2 juniors, a very young team coming back next year. I think there is some talent on that team. Brandy Montgomery, the sophomore, has certainly stepped up here as of late, averaging over 20 points, I think, the last couple of few games. The Auburn softball team out in California. They're playing Long Beach State as we talk right now. That game began at 3 o'clock at the Judy Garmin Classic out there in Fullerton, California. Auburn plays, it's a doubleheader today. They'll play Pacific at 5:30. That game begins. And then tomorrow they'll take on the number 12 Arizona Wildcats. That one at 7:30 tomorrow night, and Cal State Fullerton at 10 p.m. That's Central, of course, for our time here. And then on Saturday, Auburn will take on the 22nd or 23rd team, depending on which poll you look at, Arizona State Sun Devils. That's the team, of course, that Clint Myers actually came from. That's where he was when Auburn hired him. So I'm sure that'll be an interesting game for him. But the Tigers didn't get off to a good start either on the road out there in California.
Well, they're through 4 now, and Auburn trails 5-1. Did have a home run by Auburn here in the recent inning, which was the first score of the game. Rhodes knocks that one out. So Auburn down 5-1. That one's through 4. So 3 more innings, and Auburn's had some runners on board the last several innings, but unable to get them across home plate. So do have that home run. That's the beauty of Auburn right now, though. They got a lot of power, and they can stream together multiple runs. So as this thing closes out, we'll continue to update you out there.
Absolutely. Auburn in the other tournament, when they went down to South Florida earlier this year. They lost an opening game to Dartmouth, kind of out of the blue. So, I don't know. It's a long trip out to California, out to Fullerton. So, wish hopefully, we'll see a comeback here. But Long Beach State and Pacific are actually two of the weaker teams in this tournament. So, Tigers need to get on the ball a little bit. Auburn baseball wins the Capital City Classic on Tuesday night. That's the first time we've been on air since then. They beat Alabama 5-3. Auburn now 6-1 in the Capital City Classic. So, I asked you before the show, does it mean anything to you when Auburn wins the Capital City Classic? Certainly, we've owned that series so far.
I tell you what means something to me is we look like we're playing a lot better. Look more confident. We're swinging the bat. Anthony Greer's as good as anybody in the conference right now, and Keegan Thompson's going to keep us in all the games he's in. No question about that. So Auburn moves to 10-3 on the season. Alabama drops to 7-5. Does that answer your question? I don't think that if we're 500 and we're not playing all that well and we look like we're not getting better, I would have an issue or really wouldn't mean that much to me. But right now I really feel good about Auburn's baseball team.
Yeah, well, we're 6-1 in the Capital City Classic, but I don't know how many I dare say that over that time span, Alabama holds the winning record over Auburn in the regular season when it really counts. So that's been a problem for the Tigers. That if they can win 2 of 3, they get Alabama at home this year. Not to mention sweep them in the middle of the season. Certainly that'll be when it really counts, and that'll certainly be. I'll feel much better about that. Auburn plays Xavier this weekend in a 3-game set. Hopefully the weather. A little cool today, but hopefully it's supposed to make a rebound. Supposed to have some very nice weather Saturday and Sunday. Gus Malzahn fighting rule changes again. He has garnered his group there of spread, fast-paced guys, and they've gone and are challenging this ruling that the rule that's trying to be passed about creating the new lineman downfield rule, changing it from 1 yard to 3 yards. Or changing it from 3 yards to 1 yard. So we'll have to. I think they're supposed to meet today to actually decide about voting on whether to change that rule or not. So we'll have to wait and see how that all comes out. Jason Caldwell will join us at 4:30, and Jeff Whitaker, Auburn defensive lineman, he will join us at 5:30 today. So certainly don't want to miss that. Peyton Manning is going to take a $4 million pay cut, but he will return next year with the Denver Broncos. To give it another chance. This will be his 18th year in the NFL. That's kind of shocking to me, but that's our question of the day. Are you glad that Peyton Manning's coming back, or do you wish he would just gone ahead and retire? I read Troy Polamalu with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh said, I hope the team says they hope he retires because they don't want to have to cut him, because that's what the NFL is. I mean, when you come to a point. And he's 34, I think. Peyton Manning will be 39, I think, later on this month. But, you just hate Peyton Manning's he's definitely lost something off his fastball. There's no doubt about that. You always think about Willie Mays, kind of stumbling around out there for the Mets, hitting 240. You hate to see your heroes. You hate to see these greats, go downhill like that. So do you wish he would have just gone ahead and retired, or are you glad that he's coming back for one more go at it?
It's his choice, but I like to see him leave at the top of their game, if not at the top when they're healthy. And I'll bring up one. He retired and came back, and unfortunately, Michael Jordan, I thought that he was invincible. Last couple of shots he shoots, wins a championship, goes out in the setting sun, and then he comes back a few years later, and he looks rather average. And I do not wish to think of him as rather average. And a 19, 20-point-per-game guy was not what left the league, but it is what we got back in the 40s. Now, it's amazing that he could still compete and do what he did when he came back for the Wizards, but for me, I'd much rather him go on out. And it's not money. Clearly, Peyton Manning, whatever he's making in the NFL, he's going to make outside the NFL. He's a brilliant guy. He can speak. He can do all the endorsement deals. So you can't believe it's that. For your answer, for my purposes, I just wish he would. And he's never really, he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback of our generation, but he's never had that big fastball. So a drop-off with his arm strength is clearly evident indifference to some John Elway's. I'm sure he lost some to his fastball, but his arm strength was out of this world to begin with, so just a little loss for him wasn't a struggle. For Peyton, even when he came out in the draft, that was a question mark, Andy.
Yeah, and I'm like you. It's his decision. I don't want to question that, and I don't. Any athlete out there, it's their determination. If they want to play, it's the love of the game. They love it. It is what their life is all about. They dedicate so much to it to achieve success, and they can play as long as they want to play. This is just a matter of your opinion to my opinion. And yeah, I don't. It doesn't really bother me that he's coming back. I think, but I don't think Denver has a great opportunity to win the Super Bowl. They're going to save $4 million extra because he's going to take a pay cut. He's only going to make $15 million this year instead of 19. So, maybe he is hurting for money. I don't know, but I don't know what Denver could do with that. If they're going to bring in, what all can they add to this team? Are they going to beat Denver? Are they going to beat New England? Are they going to be able to beat Seattle? Are they going to be able to beat Indianapolis? So, I just don't think. I know the idea of winning a Super Bowl kind of trumps everything for Peyton, it seems. Like you said, it's not about money. I don't even think it's about the records, which he will probably break every other record that's out there this year if he has any kind of year that he normally has. His name's already in the record book and in a lot of statistics. It'll probably be in all of them after this year, but I don't even think those things really matter to him. He wants that. He wants that second Super Bowl ring, and I just don't think it's going to. I don't think there's a realistic chance that they're going to get it in Denver.
It's shocking to me, but I got a lot of friends that are Broncos fans, and they're Peyton Manning fans, and Brett Favre was the same way. Got a lot of friends that, in the state of Alabama without having a pro team, and I don't know about you, but there's a lot more Braves fans out there around here than there are Falcons fans. So I don't say that the Atlanta Falcons are our home team. I know as many New Orleans Saints fans as I do Falcons, and randomly I know as many Tampa Bay Bucks fans as I do Falcon fans. But back to my point, Peyton Manning has a nice following out there. And if you're a Denver Broncos fan and you're out there listening, how many players are they away? Is it defensively where they're away? Is it a top-notch Adrian Peterson running back that they're away? And can they go after him? Is he on their radar? That's the question. I mean, do you watch enough of it to know exactly what they're missing? Because during the regular season, there were stretches during the regular season this year where Peyton Manning was doing what Peyton Manning does, which is throw four touchdowns and maybe an interception and 330 yards. It's not like he just completely lost it this past year. But once they get to the playoffs, that's where the head scratching comes in. They look like they're a little down, Andy.
They're missing some pieces on the offensive line. They are missing a big-time running back. I know this. John Elway didn't win the only 2 Super Bowls he won is because he had a great running back and a great running game. I think Peyton Manning probably needs that as well. But they're always missing a few things here or there, and I think they are missing a couple of things on defense, maybe a shutdown corner. But there's a reason there are only a few of those out there, and there's only a few people that have them. But I just don't know. I can't see him leading just from what you see from some of the elite teams right now in the NFL. I just don't see it. Maybe it does happen, and if it does, I'll certainly cheer for him. I'm a big Peyton Manning fan, but we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free locally at 334-887-3401. Peyton Manning is coming back. He will play next year for the Denver Broncos. Do you wish that he would have just gone ahead and retired, or are you glad that he's coming back for one more go at it? We can talk about anything that you'd like to talk about today. Again, Jason Caldwell will join us at 4:30, and Jeff Whitaker, Auburn defensive lineman, will join us at 5:30. We'll catch up with him, talk about his plans for the immediate future. If you got anything else, we'd love to hear from you. We're up against a break here on the Thursday edition of Sports Call, but don't go anywhere. There's more on the way, presented by Home Place Mortgage, right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free or locally at 334-887-3401 on the AO Tourism hotline. Auburn still down 11 or so there in the SEC tournament. They're in North Little Rock, Arkansas at the Verizon Arena. Texas A&M, number 18 in the country. Auburn did defeat Florida yesterday. Looks like they're having a pretty good bit of trouble here with Texas A&M in the last minute or so of that game. Looks like Auburn will fall and end up 13-18 on the year. The softball team, last report we had, was still 5-1 in the latter innings, in the fourth or fifth inning out there in Fullerton, California. So we'll try to keep a check on that and give you a final on that as we continue on in the show today. Our question of the day revolves around Peyton Manning. Are you glad he's coming back for another year to try to go for another Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos? Or do you wish he would have just gone ahead and retired? He's had a lot of health problems. You can tell certainly his arm strength has diminished over the years, with the neck injury and the different things that he's had. But to say something, to say that he's been around for 18 years, that's a pretty impressive thing, I guess, to come back and just be able to be as effective as he is at this age.
Couple of quick updates out there. Texas A&M leads Auburn 54-45 now, minute 42 to go. So Auburn no quitting this girls team. They're still hanging in there. Auburn, last report that we had up to a minute ago, if you can follow Auburn softball, Auburn_softball on Twitter is where I'm getting this information. Time to drive them home. Malero comes up after a 2-out walk to Cooper, 2 on, 2 out. And Auburn's got an opportunity here in the fifth to try to knock some in. We'll pass that along as we hear it. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Auburn loses this basketball game, Andy. I know it's odd, but Coach Flo, she's had a decent little stretch, a couple of NIT bids in the last couple of years, but not getting this team the NCAA tournament. And I don't know. I don't mind her being there. I don't want to say that, but at some point you really do hope that Auburn because Nell Fortner had a tough stretch the last few years she was there. She had that one tremendous year. I don't remember the year. I guess 6 or 7 years ago, but
9 or 10.
She didn't close out all that well either.
No, she didn't. And look, we had this conversation, a couple of weeks ago, and I was on the record, and Brett and I were talking, and I said, Auburn is, we had some great teams, in the late 80s with Joe Champy, went to 3 straight NCAA finals. And we're a team that was a threat to win the national championship. And then after he retired, and really before that, Auburn just kind of fell back a little bit. And, it's been so long now since Auburn was really dominant. We got that one SEC title, like you said, there in the middle of Nell Fortner's tenure. But, I said, look, what do we really expect from the women's basketball program today? And, Brett made a good point, and you don't think about it until you hear it out loud. But he said, look, it's Auburn University. You got the money. They're pouring money into the athletic department like they never have before. Why not expect to excel? If you're going to have a women's basketball team, you might as well plan to try to win the SEC and play for a national title. So, what's stopping us? We got that $90 million arena. We've got, obviously, women's basketball is probably never going to make money, but that's kind of beside the point. Can we compete with the rest of the SEC, the rest of the country? If South Carolina can end up number 1 in the country, why can't Auburn? So, I'm like you. I think Coach Flo comes back next year. I believe she will, but I think you probably have to start. In year 4, you probably have to start saying, if you don't make the NCAA tournament, we're going to have a conversation.
You do it, and I think it's got to be an expectation. And I totally agree with you. And I think Alabama's going through it right now. They're going to be definitely going through it. Anthony Grant can go ahead and pack them. They're sayonara.
Please don't say that. I hope he comes back.
Look, Mike Shula, we begged him back, and he left, and they went out and got a great coach. I'm hoping that what you continue to say every time we go to a break. Do you want to tell everybody out there who you think is going to be the next Alabama basketball coach?
I've said it before. I said Tom Izzo. I think he's it just seems like everything's kind of aligning. I think you're right, exactly. Alabama's going to be looking for a coach. Number one, they see the splash that Auburn made with Bruce Pearl. They're going to try to at least do that or top it. Tom Izzo has kind of, he just kind of seemed like maybe he's run his course there at Michigan State. I don't know. This team this year is not as good as it's been. He's had a couple of years like that in between some really good years. But I think him and Saban are old buddies, from the time when Saban was at Michigan State. I just think that Alabama will go after somebody like that. But I just think he's maybe the more I say it, the less likely it'll be true.
I hope you're incorrect. And I will say this, though, as we were doing the AHSA radio network this past week, it was odd to look over there in the stands and see Tom Izzo watching Josh Langford play. Now, Langford,
was he there to see Langford?
Well, good. That's the point. I brought it up to Brett. I said, I'm hope that I'm not thinking too much into this, but Andy has not let this one go for a long time. And I look over in the stands, and we're in Birmingham, Alabama, in the middle of the college basketball season. And he's sitting over there, and he's watching Langford. And Brett said, well, look, and I can't remember, it may have been Steve Ward, who's the head coach at Huffman High School, that was doing the broadcast with me. He said, Randy, Langford's got every offer from everyone in the country but Duke. Literally everybody's offered him, and probably going to be a Kentucky.
Is there a reason Duke has not offered him?
I don't know. Good question. I think that he's intelligent. I think he's got the grades. We'll see where he ends up. He can play wherever he goes. He's got the body, too. It's not like you're trying to develop someone here. This is a true five-star, much like Devin Booker last year. A blind bat could have gone to the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, picked the best player out, and Booker was, and he ends up at Kentucky, and now you see what he's doing. But Langford, I'm saying, for Izzo to be in Birmingham last week, just threw a big red flag up for me. I'm hoping he doesn't end up there, Andy.
Well, let's just hope they both don't end up there. I mean, yes, it's still, look, Alabama's not looking for a coach right now. You never quite can put too fine a point on what they're doing over there in Tuscaloosa. So, who knows? They may be content with it. They may say that, Grant has done just enough, over his 6 years to deserve a seventh year. I don't know. I hope they do. I think as long as Grant is at Alabama, they're, going to be good but not great, and they're going to lose more games that they shouldn't win, or that they should win, and not win games that they shouldn't. So, that's just kind of who he is. That's kind of they've taken on his personality, and he is the anti-fiery guy. I think when he got that technical when he came down to Auburn, I think that was pointedly done on purpose because he wanted people to say, look, I am fiery and I can get fired up, but it just kind of to no avail.
Big weekend, I think, this weekend, and it will be Auburn basketball having some major players in, Horace Spencer being one, and 6'8", 215-pounder, 4-star, I think the number 53 ranked, maybe the number 8 ranked power forward in the country and the 53rd ranked player in the country. AL.com did an outstanding article I passed along on Twitter just a few minutes ago. And when you look, the Tigers are at 12-18, 5th consecutive game we lose. We need as much as we can get in. And you've been raving about Horace Spencer for several weeks now.
We had on a scout from, I believe it was from Arizona, and he was talking about Horace Spencer. And he said, that he reminded him of Chris Porter. And I said, why? You just made a lot of people really, really happy. So he's the only guy that we don't have signed yet. So he said, this could be, from what the word is, that he could be, this could be a weekend that kind of solidify things. So let's hope it all goes well.
It's down to UNLV and Auburn. Looks like Auburn still gets the nod, but he's out at Findlay Prep in Henderson, Nevada. So that's the reason UNLV's gotten themselves back in the ball game. So a big weekend. They'll have a number of other great players in town this weekend, so Auburn needs to close this thing on out and get these players in because it's going to take a drastic change to what we're seeing currently to get this Auburn team around. But I got all the confidence in the world in Bruce Pearl, and maybe that's something you can ask Jason Caldwell in the next segment and see what's an update with Horace Spencer.
Absolutely. Up against a break here. When we come back, hopefully we'll be joined by Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
covered.
Experience and knowledge from the pros. Russ will do it better at Building Supply.
Over the years, S&S Tire has grown into the Lake Martin area's largest volume tire dealer. S&S Tire offers the industry's best brand names: Michelin, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Firestone, and much, much more. The tire pros at S&S offer professional installation and the region's best price. In addition to your tire needs, S&S offers full automotive mechanical work for all your vehicle maintenance and repair needs with the area's most experienced staff. Visit either of our 2 locations on Cherokee Road in Ellick City or at South Street in Dadeville. At S&S Tire, we're installing peace of mind for every customer we serve. Every job, every day.
Lee Marketing Group is proud to announce their recent alliance with Baker Street Advertising based in Opelika, Alabama. Now more than ever, it's important to develop a marketing plan that creates a compelling message, deploys that message, and analyzes metrics to optimize performance. LMG Baker strengthens our mission to help businesses market to their potential. Contact Randy Lee Jr. 256-750-5951 or visit our website, leemarketing.net.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham here with you for another hour and a half, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free or locally at 334-887-3401 on the AO Tourism Hotline. We'll pick up your phone calls in the next segment, but right now, excuse me, we're going to go to the AO Tourism Hotline and welcome in Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers. Jason, how is everything going today?
Hey, Andy, doing good. How about you?
Oh, doing really well. Just start off, Auburn had their pro day on Tuesday. No doubt you were in amongst that. Just kind of give us your evaluation of everything that went on.
Yeah, I thought it went really good. For this group, it was an important day because you had a lot of guys that didn't have a chance to go through the combine, that had to depend on this to really have their one shot to grab the attention of NFL scouts and all those guys. So it was a big opportunity for a lot of those guys. And I thought it went well overall as a group. It normally is the case. Guys are a little bit more relaxed because they're in familiar settings and around guys that they've been used to playing football with for a long time. So I think it worked out well for most everybody.
Well, pretty guy that stuck out pretty much to everybody. Bill Belichick was actually in Auburn checking things out. Do you know specifically who he was looking at, or were you surprised to see him there?
No, every once in a while you'll have a guy pop up like that, and he's a guy that probably does as much on his own as most of the head coaches do. But he worked out the defensive line and gave Wright and Angelo Black and those guys a long look, and then he also worked out with the wide receivers, tight ends, and watched those guys closely. And I have a feeling that a guy like Sammy Coates is probably a guy that could be on their radar. You look at them; they're going to be picking late in the first round. Sammy's a guy that you talking about fitting in a system. They got a lot of guys that are possession type receivers. Really, Rob Gronkowski's kind of almost their home run hitter as a tight end, and so Sammy's an intriguing guy for an offense like that. So I think it's probably one of the guys he was taking a close look at. But a guy like Angelo Blackson too. You're talking about a guy that could come in and eat up some space inside and still really learning how to play football. And you could probably get him down later in the rounds, and he's a guy that I think has the potential to have a pretty good career, in the NFL. But I think probably a couple of guys he was looking at are those two guys.
Well, Corey Grant, of course, was kind of the star of the show, running his 40 time and the bench press and everything. He just had a tremendous day. But when you look down through the numbers, one of the guys that we talked about on Tuesday that had his numbers kind of jumped off the page at you was Brandon King. What do you think the problem was with King? Was he misplaced? As far as a position was concerned, you look at his numbers and you wonder, how in the world is this guy not more productive?
Yeah, I think you look at it and, coming in, getting his first look as a safety, and, maybe he didn't have quite the ball skills that they were looking for at that position. So, tried to move him around. He wound up playing linebacker a little bit. And then, ended up playing defensive end some, as they were trying to find a pass rusher. It happens sometimes guys just never find a home. I think he's probably one of those guys that had they, kind of left him at maybe a strong safety role and just let him, get his feet wet, that he would have had a chance to do some good things. And I think that's probably, the position that he'll have a chance to make it, in the NFL. Even though he had a good day and ran in the 4.4 range, teams just don't have much film on him. So he's a guy that's probably going to have to go and earn a spot in an NFL camp. And, when you have to do that, he's a guy that could help out on special teams, do a lot of different things. So he'll have an opportunity now after pro day, and I'm not sure that he'd had one before Tuesday.
We've got Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers joining us here on Sports Call this afternoon. Just kind of switching gears. A lot of us don't really think about recruiting, 20 as much as we should, but it's a thing that, of course, never ends. A pretty big recruiting weekend for Auburn, not only in football but in basketball as well this weekend. Can you talk a little bit about that and who Auburn plans to have in this weekend?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys in terms of football with another group of juniors coming in, and a couple of really important defensive linemen coming in, guys like David Marshall, who's the kid that I had a story on today at AUTigers.com from down in South Georgia. He's 6'4", 255 pound, physical defensive end, a guy that can move inside and play tackle. And so he's one of those guys coming in. And Antoine Jackson's a defensive tackle prospect from over in Cedar Grove that's expected to come in. So that's a couple of guys, but that'll be, I think, a really good group in this weekend football. And you look at basketball, it's the same thing. Starting with Horace Spencer coming in for his official visit. Kid that's been committed to Auburn for quite a while and didn't sign in the early period. But I think it's a good sign that he's coming back in for that official visit. And he's, to me, the linchpin to the class. When you look at the group they got coming in, it's a really, really talented group with 4 signees right now. But, you're looking at point guard, a couple of wings, maybe a small forward. Horace Spencer's a guy that could come into play the forward position at 6'8", be 225 or so, really athletic and could defend the rim. He can do a lot of different things, and so it's an important piece of that puzzle. And so this will be a big weekend, I think, for basketball. Several young guys in the state, I think, may come in as well, including Austin Wiley, a guy that has been in several times and obviously with a lot of ties to Auburn. So it should be a pretty big weekend on the Plains in terms of future recruiting.
Yeah, you're talking about new guys coming into the basketball program. It'll be senior day for Auburn there on Saturday as they will take on Georgia. A lot of, a couple of these guys, haven't been in Auburn for very long, like a Casey Ross Miller, like an Antoine Mason. But just talk a little bit about the seniors on this basketball team, especially KT Harrell.
Yeah, they're not going to leave with a big legacy in terms of winning a lot of basketball games, but they're going to leave with a legacy of putting the program on the right track. I think we'll look back a couple of years from now, and you'll see this was the start of things. It kind of reminds me of Coach Dye's first football team, and that they had a lot of rough times and had some chances to win games and just couldn't finish. But low on talent, low on numbers, but they kind of set the tone. And I think we'll look back on this team as a team that potentially does the same thing for the basketball program. But KT, transferred back home from Virginia, and it's been a rock for this team, especially the last couple of years. If you look at what he's done this year, I mean, he's turned himself into a professional basketball player and a guy that's going to have a chance to play for a long time down the road. But you mentioned him, another guy to me, Malcolm Canada, just coming in and doing whatever it takes, playing power forward, point guard, and really turned himself into a pretty good basketball player too. To me, those two guys, and obviously you look at Casey Ross Miller. Hopefully, Antoine Mason will be able to make it back in. I don't know if he's going to be able to or not after the death of his father, but it'd be nice to see him be able to come back and get a little bit more notoriety for Senior Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if Coach Pearl has had a film after a game where he's said, some days you lay your guts on the line and you come up short and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it has that similar feel for sure.
Well, as we kind of end the segment here, the Auburn women's basketball team had a really, really tough year. They're going to end up losing to Texas A&M today, 13-18. This is the third year for Terry Williams Flournoy. This is a very young team. When it looked like it was possible Auburn might not even win an SEC game, I know there was talk that maybe her job was in jeopardy. But where do you see this program going? Is it moving forward, or do you think maybe it does need some change?
I think what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks is a great sign. When you look at the people that are making plays, the ladies that are coming up big. I mean, you're right. This is a young team, and I think for them, they found a little something. Now they got to get more help. They got to get some more help, especially in the interior. Some more size. And they got a couple coming. So I think it's a really good sign for them the way they finished. They ought to have a lot of confidence heading into next year. And it's still a process, I think, for them. With some holes left over in terms of recruiting, but I think what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks is, I think it's a positive sign and a confidence builder moving into next season.
Well, Jason, just kind of let us know what we can expect from inside the Auburn Tigers here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, got a lot going on. Obviously, still recapping Pro Day and looking back at some of those things. Recruiting coming up, baseball series this weekend against Xavier. So a little bit of everything as we get geared up towards spring football as well. Spring football previews going on. Defensive end preview today, so we'll have more of those heading into next week as well.
Well, Jason, we really appreciate you joining us. Look forward to catching up with you next week as well.
Thanks, Andy. Have a good day.
You too, brother. Thank you so much. There's more Sports Call on the way right after this.
Resource Natural Spring Water. Resource is 100% natural spring water with naturally occurring electrolytes that support a lifestyle of well-being. When you need to refresh, revitalize, and replenish, it's always Resource Natural Spring Water.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you for another hour and 9 minutes or so. Taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. And we'll go right to the AO Tourism Hotline.
D, you're on Sports Call.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I hang up and listen. I missed most of the Auburn Pro Day workouts or the talk show that y'all had. I just want to know, how did Corey Grant come out? Did he help himself any? And also, another question, did Nick Marshall hurt himself by not being sure whether he wanted to be a DB or a quarterback? And also, could y'all talk about how did you get an opportunity to go to the combine? Do coaches turn your name in or do you get invited? I'll hang up and listen.
Great questions. First off, I'll start with the combine, D. And Corey Grant, if there was ever a way to put your name in front of a lot of NFL scouts, he did it. He had an outstanding day, and he measured in right under 5'9", 201 pounds, vertical leap 37, broad jump of 10.7, had 22 reps at 225 on the bench, ran a 4.26 40. Had him as low as a 4.18 40, and so the actual time ended up being 4.26. He did everything needed to do. For me, Nick Marshall, I think, has really played this about as good as you can play it. He was 10 pounds heavier as they went in today, or excuse me, into the pro day than he was at the combine. He threw the ball well. He proved that the arm strength that we knew he had was really good. I think that some intermediate passes didn't throw them perfectly, but for the most part, turned some heads there. And in the secondary, I don't think there's any question with scouts or anyone out there that he has the athleticism to move on and play something in the NFL. And I think him showing his versatility has really helped out, Andy. Would you agree?
I think that word versatility fits him best, and I think that's a good word to use because you hear him talk, and it's so refreshing really to hear. He says, look, if they want me to play cornerback, that's what I'll do. If they want me to play quarterback, if they want me to be the emergency guy, that's what I'll do. If they want me to play special teams, that's what I'll do. I just want to play football in the NFL. So I don't think it's hurt him at all. I wondered that myself. Splitting your concentration. To be an elite NFL athlete, you gotta put everything you got into it. I would assume. I wouldn't certainly know, but he has shown that he can do a lot of different things. And if he's on the roster just to be an emergency third string quarterback, he's got a career in the NFL. So. I think him doing all these different things has helped him and has shown that he has a willingness. Not only he has an ability, but he has a willingness to do these things. So, and as far as I know, yes, you are invited to the combine. Now, who puts your name in, or is it totally from the coaches of the NFL? I'm not sure, but you have to be invited by the NFL to that combine. Yes.
If those of you riding around know a little better than Andy and I, then we'd love to hear from you. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. But my understanding is it's not the coaches that are making that decision. That would be a tough place to put those coaches in. But I think that it's pretty much draft status. Where do they expect? Do they think that you're worthy of that? And Corey Grant, it was up in air. And I think that after his junior campaign, if he had the same numbers in his senior campaign that we saw in his junior, then we would have probably seen him. But we just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't see Corey quite as much as we expected to in his senior campaign. Wasn't any reason that I would say other than, there's question marks of running between the tackles, but catching the ball out of the backfield, that was another big strength for Corey in this pro day, and I think that only helps him as well.
Oh, yeah. He's not going to be an every down back. I don't think anybody expects that. But, if he's going to be a special teams guy, if he's going to be a returner, if he's going to be a third down guy that you can bring in and throw the ball to out of the backfield, he seems like a prototypical guy that you can throw a swing pass to and for him to get outside with his speed. So I think he has shown that he deserves at least an opportunity to have a free agent contract and can he, earn his way onto a team? And, when he first got to Auburn, he transferred from Alabama. You heard that he was, the scout team player of the year. You saw that he, heard his teammates talk about how hard he worked in the weight room. He has a desire, and he has his work ethic is really second to none. So that will serve him well moving forward. He's got elite speed. He's got you look at him, strutting around at pro day in that spandex. I mean, the guy he's got probably about 1.00001% body fat. I mean, he's one big muscle, and I think that he is just you add in his God-given ability with his desire and work ethic, and I think he's gonna find his way on to some team somewhere.
Yeah, I think he'll be outstanding in an interview. He's from good folks. But listen, I mean, it means something, and when you know him, and I'm blessed enough to know his folks, and they're good people. And so I'll be cheering for him. I cheered for him the whole time he was at Auburn. I can't say, I would have probably been cheering for him at Alabama to do well, just not against Auburn in those games. But I was glad he ended up back at Auburn from Opelika High School, and he had the career that he had, and he had the breakout campaign in his junior season. He shows the breakaway ability on kickoff returns that I think is going to be very important for him moving to the NFL. And his father played in the NFL also, so hopefully Corey gets the opportunity as well. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. As we mentioned earlier, Auburn women's basketball team going down by 11, I believe, to Texas A&M. Much better than the first time the two teams saw one another. Auburn reels off 4 consecutive victories before they lose in this final one. And, Andy, it was a nice close, and I heard Jason Caldwell say it. It was a much-needed close if you're on the coaching staff of the Auburn Tigers, because it may have allowed them to hold on for one more year.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is with Williams-Flournoy, but it seems like Auburn does play their best basketball at the very end of the year. It seems like it takes them forever to kind of figure things out. Maybe that's something they can work on moving forward, especially with such a young team. You've got so many of those girls coming back, and maybe they found something. Brandy Montgomery certainly has played extremely well down the stretch. You got the Jones twins as well. So, perhaps Auburn has found something. Perhaps maybe they can, take this momentum into next season. Up against the break here, the Fox Sports Report is coming up next, but Randy and I will be back with hour number 2 of Sportscall, presented by Home Place Mortgage, right after this.
For 20 years, East Alabama's sports talk leader.
Swing and drive. Belton right.
Sportscall.
Oh, what a dunk.
Call in now at 887-3401-LOCAL. Or 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free.
Struck him out.
And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains, Sports Call.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Call on this Thursday afternoon. Andy Graham and Randy Lee here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free or locally at 334-887-3401 on the AO Tourism Hotline. We appreciate all of you out there joining us today on Sports Call. We'd love to hear from you, so give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind today. Sports Call is brought to you by Auburn Urgent Care. Auburn Urgent Care offers convenient solutions for your health care and occupational medicine needs, including workman's compensation injury care and certified DOT medical examinations. With locations on South College and in Tigertown, visit them online at auburnurgentcare.com. As we came on the broadcast this afternoon, Auburn was playing Texas A&M, the 18th ranked women's basketball team in the country. Texas A&M, the Aggies, they defeat Auburn today in the SEC tournament. So the Auburn women's basketball season comes to an end today. Auburn finishing the year 13-18. Auburn softball team out in California, Fullerton, California, playing in a tournament out there. They were down to Long Beach State. We'll continue to keep you updated on that game as the program moves forward today. We caught up with Jason Caldwell in the first hour. We'll be joined by Jeff Whitaker, Auburn defensive lineman, at 5:30 today. So you certainly don't want to miss that. Talked a lot about the women's basketball team, the softball team, and the baseball team a little bit there in the first hour, as well as Auburn's Pro Day. Kind of recap that as well. But an interesting thing going on today. Go ahead.
I got to give you an update.
Absolutely.
Auburn's girls softball team has tied this thing up, wild pitch, and I'm getting all of this information from Auburn softball Twitter feed, so make sure to go out there and find them. It's Auburn_softball. Draper and Estelle both move up 60 feet on the first pitch to Rhodes, still only one out. Game tied 5-5 with Long Beach State. So Auburn has come back from a 5-0 deficit to tie this thing up. You got to like our chances now, and I said that. This Auburn team with the offensive firepower that they've shown all season long, they're never out of it, Andy.
No, that's a great thing. You know, that's what we talked about. Auburn leading the SEC in practically every offensive category except for one or two. You know, the only question is, you know, is their pitching? Can they do they have enough pitching to let their offense take over and win games? They at Long Beach State, the 49ers are 10-12 on the year, I believe. So not a great team, but, you know, the competition out on the West Coast seems to be pretty elite out there. So that record might be a little bit misleading. Good to see Auburn has made a comeback, though. We'll have to wait and see. We'll certainly, again, try to keep you updated on that as we move forward.
They'll move to extra innings, actually. Auburn gets out, doesn't put the extra run on the board, so we'll move to extra innings, tied 5-5. So a great close for Auburn. Hopefully they can pull this thing off.
Definitely. Our question of the day revolved around Peyton Manning. He is coming back next year with the Denver Broncos. He is taking a $4 million pay cut. Now he'll only make $15 million a year instead of $19 million a year. So to kind of free up some money for Denver to go out and fill some holes from that team last year. Are you glad Peyton Manning's coming back, or would you just like to have seen him going ahead and retire? You know, he's 39 years old, or will be later on this month. So, you know, his arm strength has diminished. Do you want him? Are you glad he's coming back, or do you wish he would just have retired? That's kind of the question of the day. We mentioned in the first hour, Gus Malzahn has gotten together with Hugh Freeze, Todd Graham, and Art Briles. They have petitioned Troy Calhoun, the chairman of the Rules Committee, about this upcoming proposed rule change about offensive linemen downfield. They're, you know, proposing to change that rule from the offensive lineman being able to be within a 3-yard buffer there to just make it 1 yard. You know, they were supposed to meet today, the Rules Committee oversight about whether to vote on this to change this rule. Gus Malzahn says, why don't we just call it the way it is and make it a priority to actually enforce the rule the way it's written and just change it. I mean, why let common sense get in the way of a good rule change?
Let me read a little bit of this. So we kind of, because it's confusing to me, those of us that don't coach, how much of a difference does this make? So this is Gus Malzahn's quote. That's part of the creativity of the game. Malzahn said, I'm not into anything that takes the creativity out of the game. You see a lot of coaches around the country, specifically high school coaches that are coaching in college, and that's very important to them. So to me, for him to step out, and he continues to say this, I'm with him. I mean, that's the beauty of football, is the change of guard, the change of offenses. Then can the defenses catch up with what you're doing offensively? And are you in that little gray area? I don't think there's a problem with that gray area. If you're an Auburn fan, Gus Malzahn stays in that gray area, and that's a great thing. That's what we love about him. And I think that even last year you were kind of wondering, year two, do they start catching up? It's really not year two. It's multiple years he's been at Auburn with this offense. But the thing about Gus Malzahn is no matter who the quarterback or the parts that he has in place, he can change his offense around for it. So I hate to see him messing with it as well, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess basically it's directed at that one, the pop pass. The Kansas State runs quite a bit. Auburn scored on this play against Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Nick Marshall, the Sammy coach, that tied the game, that led Auburn, of course, ended the way it did. But some other teams, have started to run this. Seattle, the Seahawks ran this this past year, I believe, early in the season. You're just trying to cut out that one play. I mean, how often is that run, even in a game? Why are you just all of a sudden going to change a rule that's been around forever because somebody is, like he said, being creative enough to design a play to kind of take advantage of that. If an offensive lineman is downfield, just call it the way it is. And, I'm not sure how this is supposed to be easier to referee because of changing the rule. I just don't. Maybe I don't understand it enough.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Tony, you're on Sports Call.
How y'all doing?
Good to hear from you, Tony.
Yeah. Showing ethnic best at Alabama. Me being out.
And we lost Tony there. Hopefully coming up in this next segment, we can pick back up with him. Look forward to it, 5:30. Make sure to stay tuned in. Jeffrey Whitaker will be on with us. He and his 41 reps at 225. He can pick up a house, can't he?
Yeah, pick it up and put it down. Very impressive. Certainly I'd like to talk to him. He had, a lot of injuries during his career. A guy that came in and started really came in and played a lot as a freshman there in 2010. I mean, he's one of these guys that had been through it all, in his Auburn career. He comes in as a freshman. He wins the national title in 2010. And then, goes through 11, goes through that horrendous season in 2012, able to come back in 2013, and have that renaissance. So, he has really been through the highs and lows, of everything that's gone on at Auburn, really in the last several years. So, fortunate to get an opportunity to catch up with him, and see what his immediate plans are for the future.
888-9-TIGER-9 334-887-3401. I guess let's go ahead and take a break, Andy. We'll come back, try to pick up a few of these phone callers out there. Tony, make sure to call us back when you get in a little bit of better service area. I heard a little Alabama talk coming from Tony. I think it's Alabama fan Tony out there calling in. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. More Sports Call presented by Auburn Urgent Care on the way right after this.
Alaska, Europe, Hawaii, and more on a land trip or cruise. Contact Rudalisa Anderson at Cruise Planners today. Why do the planning when it can be done for you? Visit exclusivecruiseplanners.com or call 844-722-6342.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Call on this Thursday evening now. Andy and Randy here with you until 6 o'clock. Taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9, toll free, or locally at 334-887-3401 on the Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline. We were talking about the rule change or proposed rule change in the previous segment. Let me just ask you this. Gus Malzahn won the last round of the fight that he had with the NCAA. The proposed 10-second rule, as it was, that never came to be. Do you think this rule gets changed, or do you think wiser, or should it be changed? There are probably a lot of people out there that think it should be changed. Do you think ultimately it will?
I don't know. I mean, more than likely they're going to probably keep about even kill, so it probably will be changed. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing that they're going to give and take some, but the question is that, yeah, we know about the pop pass out there, but how many other plays does this come into play with? I mean, those of you that are coaches or have been a part of this, we'd love to hear 888-9-TIGER-9. 334-887-3401, because honestly, I saw a whole bunch of high school ball this year, and every team I saw had a variation of that play. It's funny how quick coaches can install something that really jumps out there, much like the Auburn touchdown pass to Sammy Coates. I mean, that play goes into your vernacular, I guess, whenever you see a play like that, and we saw it. I'm telling you, just about every team had a version of it.
That's true. It seems like the point that Gus Malzahn is making is, why are you trying to stamp out creativity? Why are you trying to, people have been taking advantage of the rules as they are, trying to find an advantage. That's what football is. You're trying to, it's part of a chess match. So you do, within the rules, you try to, play and create plays to take advantage of the defense. So when you're taking advantage of it, if you call the play correctly, then, I don't understand what the problem is. So, I think that's his point. Let's just make it an emphasis for the referees to call it like it is. If you think that Auburn did have an offensive lineman downfield on that play where they scored to Sammy Coates, then let the referees call it the game that it should be called. So try to solve it like that first before you go and start monkeying with the rules. In other news, Twitter got another user, and a fairly popular one this week when Steve Spurrier sent out his first tweet. And I say, I told you this before. I said, what's the over-under? I'm going to put 1 month. What would you take, the over-under on the first apology from Steve Spurrier because of one of his tweets?
I don't know if he'll apologize for it, and that's the reason we all like him. I mean, he says it, and then he's like, well, I mean, you kind of take it or leave it, and that is the beauty. This 30 years ago, in his prime, this the way of Twitter would have been hilarious with him, a little bit more energetic and a little bit more in the middle of his prime, because it is set up perfectly for someone to show off their personality.
Free Shoes University.
Yes. I mean it would have been part of what you see. And can you imagine if he took advantage of the social media networking that you've got going on now back in his heyday with recruiting? Because recruits love that. I mean, clearly they do. They like someone that they feel like they know them. They feel like they can gain some kind of access to them. And so I would have loved to have seen it. I doubt it. Something tells me that he won't be on there much. He won't be doing much with it, but I may be wrong. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. You think he'll do much with it, Andy?
I think he will. I think it's like everything else. It's new, and he's kind of going to be cautious with it to begin with. He says that he's just going to use it, to say, way to go to a player or something on a good play or whatever. And they asked him, do you think this will create some headlines? And he said, I hope not. He said, you won't see anything dramatic on that. And he always says that. And he always comes out and says, I'm going to quit talking about Clemson. I'm not going to say anything bad about Clemson. And then a week later, he says something, he says, well, he rubs it in Davo's face or something. And he just, I was just kidding, So, I mean, I don't think he can help it. Once he gets the hang of it, if he ever starts and really, and starts to enjoy it, I mean, it'll be one thing after the other with him. I like you said, he is the perfect guy for this. I mean, he's the most quotable guy that we've had in the last 25 years. So for him, he's a perfect match for Twitter.
I got caught up a bit during your interview with Jason Caldwell at 4:30, so I'd like for you to update me and many of you out there that are just getting in the car. Horace Spencer in town this weekend. How big of a weekend is that for him, and just some of the other updates from Jason on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, huge weekend for Auburn in recruiting. A couple of big defensive linemen in. One, David Marshall from Georgia, I believe. He's a big-time prospect. A huge defensive end. Maybe they feel like he may end up growing into a defensive tackle, but he's a prospect that everybody's pretty much hot and heavy after. He really likes Auburn. I think he was quoted as saying he could possibly commit this weekend. So, but so many others. Quite a few juniors coming in this weekend on the football side. Like as you mentioned, Horace Spencer, a guy that the only guy that in Auburn's class right now that's not signed, but it's down between him and UNLV. He's very athletic. Jason said that he thought this is the linchpin for this whole class. Auburn's got and it's a really good class without him. But if you put him in it, I think he's saying, look, this could be a great class. So he and again, I told you, we talked to a scout several months ago, and he compared him to Chris Porter. That kind of athleticism. 6'8", 230 or 40 pounds. So I mean, he's a big guy. A guy that Auburn desperately needs. I mean, what have we been talking about for months now? Auburn has no size. I mean, he says that Simeon Bowers can't go up against anybody to get better in practice because we got nobody, that can make him better. So we need that kind of size, and this would be a huge deal. And this kind of it's a good sign that he's coming back for an official visit because you feel like maybe that Auburn. He is committed to Auburn, and this could solidify that, and it would certainly go a long way if Auburn could bring in these five guys plus Kareem Canty, who's a transfer.
Another recruiting update out there for Auburn. After impressing Will Muschamp on whiteboard, rising linebacker Dante Evans picks up an Auburn offer, and that's a big offer out there for Auburn here. Recently, and he's a 6'2", 227-pounder from Lawrenceville, Georgia. Plays in a 3-4 defense currently, and so when you have Will Muschamp and you're able to go there and you're able to prove to him your worth, your football knowledge, then I think that's a good thing. His size is perfect there at 6'2", 227, and his recruitment is really taking off now. Said he's being pursued by Clemson, North Carolina, NC State, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, just to name a few. So we'll see if Auburn can pull a coup right here, and we'll continue to try to update you daily as we move on throughout the summer in recruiting ranks.
Speaking of linebacker, we haven't really mentioned it, but Anthony Swain leaving the program, and Jimmy Hutchinson as well. You've seen, some turnover here in the last couple of weeks with guys leaving the program. All these guys are pretty much backups. But, a couple of them, of course, Auburn losing a couple of underclassmen as well, and in Sammy Coates and Patrick Miller. But, I think a lot of people thought maybe Swain would get some pretty good playing time this year. So it's a little bit surprising to see him leave the program, at the linebacker position. But, a place at Auburn, it brought in some young talent last year, and hopefully that's going to mature, certainly in Trey Williams and Deshaun Davis.
You just kind of wonder with Will Muschamp in and him inserting his defense, and I'm sure that you can just get a feel for it. As a player, you can get a feel for where you fit in, and with a lot of those new guys, and maybe their way of moving into the lineup is getting rid of some of the old staff that really didn't have them as highly ranked as Coach Muschamp does coming in. And I'm one to say with Trey Williams, I'm excited about him. I was last year. It was kind of a head-scratcher on why he didn't get more time. He doesn't get redshirted, does play enough that he's burning one of those years. But as the season progressed, we just never really saw him. And there was really, I hate to say it, there wasn't a whole lot of reason not to get him out there some as we close it on out. Am I wrong, Andy?
No, you're not. And those two seniors coming, two seniors coming back this year, with Chris Frost and Castro.
Pretty good players, too.
They are good players. Some have said that they may be NFL players. I'm not sold on that quite yet, but if they can certainly make as much improvement as they did from their sophomores to junior years as they do from their junior to senior year, I think there's maybe some possibility there. So hopefully that's the case. Up against the break here on the Thursday Sports Call, but don't go anywhere. Hopefully when we come back, we'll catch up with Auburn defensive lineman Jeff Whitaker and check out and talk a little bit about the pro day that he had and his upcoming plans. So don't go anywhere. More Sports Call presented by Auburn Urgent Care on the way right after this.
Are set for 7 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and a 2 p.m. matinee on Saturday. Thursday night is Military Appreciation and First Responders Night. Friday night after the rodeo, Party in the Pens with a park band, and Saturday night with the Rexton Lee Band. Free admission with your rodeo ticket. For ticket information, visit slerodeo.com or call 1-888-2-RODEO-2. Special prices for military, first responders, and family 4-packs. Thank you to our major sponsor, Wind Creek Hospitality, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. The 58th annual PRCA SLE Rodeo. Don't miss it.
We're coming to you live from the WTKO News Chopper, where we are on the hunt for the legendary TK's convenience store. Said to have the best deals on goods like 20-ounce Pepsis, 2 for $2.50, Woodbridge wine, 1.5 liters for $9.99, and all your daily necessities, as well as the most competitive prices on gas with brand names like Texaco, Valero, Shell, and Chevron. It is believed to have the cleanest store to better get you in and out in a flash. With great deals like those, the only place to go is TK's convenience store. And there we found it. With 15 locations to better serve you, there is no way you can't find one of these great stores.
There's no better way to unwind after work than happy hour. On the golf course, Monday through Thursday after 5, Auburn Links at Mill Creek offers happy hour rates of $1 a hole. That's right, $1 a hole. Play 9 for $9. 18 for 18. And it wouldn't be a true happy hour without a great selection of ice cold beer. Relax, unwind. You deserve it. Happy hour at Auburn Links, the perfect way to end a busy day on Shelter Parkway in Auburn. For more information, call 887-5151 or visit auburnlinksgolfcourse.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham here with you for another 30 minutes or so, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. We'll pick up your phone calls in the final segment of today's show, but right now we're going to welcome in a very special guest, former defensive lineman for the Auburn Tigers, Jeff Whitaker. Jeff, we really appreciate you joining us on Sports Call today.
Hey, how you doing? I'm glad to be here.
I'm doing really well. I like to ask, all the former players a question, when we have them on. What was it that brought you? What was it that led you to Auburn University?
Well, Coach Tracy Rocker recruited me, and he told me about the wonderful university, and he did a great job of recruiting me and Coach Shiz and the whole nine, and that what brought me to Auburn. It was just, I'm a country boy from Georgia, man, so it was just Auburn is in his own little bowl, so I felt like when I was coming here, it was just like being at home.
Well, looking at your bio today, certainly you had a tough childhood, and with the passing of your mother, I was wondering if you would mind talking a little bit about that, how that has affected your life, has affected your playing career.
Well, I dedicate everything I do to my mother. I lost my mother when I was 12 years old to cancer. God bless her soul. Actually, on the 8th of this month, I think it'll be 11, 12 years since I've been without my mother. So everything I do on and off the field, I try my best to dedicate to my mother, and she's my inspiration every day. And but it was my family with raising me. It was a team effort. So some good times, or some bad times, but I'm here, and I think my mom will be proud of the person I've become.
And no doubt about that. I'm sure that she would. You come to Auburn in 2010 as a freshman, and Auburn goes to the national title and wins it and beats Oregon.
Right.
Did you think, hey, this is the way it's going to be from now on?
Oh yeah, I thought I had 4 national championships. and that was not the case, of course. I think my career here has been the highs and lows, up and downs with injuries, with the whole nine. But I'm here, and I'm blessed, and I'm healthy, and I get a chance to make this dream a reality coming up soon.
Well, talk a little bit about that first season, kind of when you came to Auburn as a freshman and actually played quite a bit on that team, and the experience of going out to Glendale and winning a national championship.
Well, my first year coming in with guys like Trevon Reed and Legarius Owens and all these high-profile guys, and I just felt like I was just a little country boy coming in at first, and but like I said, played every game, and it was great. The first time I met Cam, I was on a recruiting visit, and it was about a month before I made my decision. And I remember shaking his hand, and I was telling Coach Rock, I said, "Man, we look nice on the D-line this year." He said, "Who you talk to?" I said, "The big guy right there." He said, "That's your quarterback." I told him, "I said, I'm committing right now." And so it was one of them deals that it was just a special season. I mean, we did a lot of special things that year. I mean, one of the most memorable things I remember after every win, we would lock arms and sing, "Lean on Me," because we really mean that. And it's just one of those special deals that I never took for granted. And never thought I thought I'd go every year, but, at the end of my career to be able to say I've been a part of 2 of them and won one, that was special.
Well, Gus Malzahn, the offensive coordinator on that 2010 team now, the Auburn head coach, what's the difference between Coach Malzahn from offensive coordinator to head coach now?
Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot more decision making, but he's still the same old serious guy. Loves football, very passionate about football. Coach Malzahn has been a success that we all know, a great success story. You know, like you say, he's just a little high school coach that made it big. And but not a lot has changed. I mean, he's still passionate about the game and still coach people that coach them up the same way, whether it was with Cam Newton or Nick Marshall or the future with Jeremy Johnson, which will be very bright. So, yeah, he never really changed a lot, but just with his the status of being a head coach, of course, he has so much more to do.
We've got Jeff Whitaker, Auburn defensive lineman, joining us here on Sports Call this afternoon. You mentioned, just a lot of ups and downs. You pretty much seen it all in your career at Auburn. You've been through several defensive coordinators. What do you think? Can you put your finger on what do you think the reason is that Auburn hasn't really been able to, excel like they wanted to, maybe on the defensive side over the last several years?
Well, I think, like you said, I've been through three different defense coordinators, and I think it's just the team morale. I mean, just the team coming together day in and day out. Really, was like each year to come together to welcome whoever we had on the board and just try to accomplish something special out of what we had. You know, the two defense coordinators I went to the national championship with was, of course, Ted Roof and Ben Ellis Johnson. But I think it's been a while. I don't know how long it's been. Was it Coach Chiswick, the last defense coordinator that really probably been here a little while or something like that. But it's just a great school. And as far as, I feel like the school was built on that defensive kind of mind the last 10, 12 years. So, it's just one of the deals that job is going to be very hot, Well,
you've gotten to see Will Muschamp a little bit here as he's been hired at Auburn. What's your thoughts on him? What's your opinion about Coach Muschamp?
I think he's a passionate guy. Of course, I think he's a guy that got a lot of ties to Auburn that I was surprised of, and he was a guy that just loved football. So I think having Coach Muschamp is a blessing. Don't know how long we're going to have him, but at the same time, I think it's a blessing for the guys. There's a lot of guys in that locker room that want to have the potential to go on and play at the next level. There's some guys in that locker room that can do that. And I think we're having this move. This is a great move for Auburn, and the whole Auburn family is going to enjoy it as long as we can.
Well, unfortunately, Jeff, you suffered, several injuries during your career. First of all, just, how do you feel right now? How healthy are you?
I'm 100%, man. I'm back. Got a chance to show everybody that at Pro Day. I'm back and feeling great. And just like I said, making this dream reality. So it's just, it's fun. It's fun to go on this road.
Yeah, you mentioned the Auburn Pro Day. You put up a very impressive 41 reps on the 225.
Right.
Was that expected? Your overall performance at the Pro Day? How do you feel about it? But especially the bench press. Is that a normal for you, or is that a good day?
Everybody else says it's normal, but that was my career best.
It's a good time to have it.
Everybody. Right, it was a good time to have it, but just been training real hard. Coming off the injury at the last end of the season, and rehabbing the last 7 weeks of the season, and to hit the weight room first time like January 4th, and to come on March the 3rd, and to do something like that, that's just a testament to the work ethic that I put into with Brent Allen down in Georgia, and then working out down in the Middle Georgia area at Tim Total's Fitness, and the little things that I did to come back. But I think just the overall product, it was just great just to be back out there with my teammates, and I think my performance went well. And I think as far as the bench press is concerned, for my position, being a nose guy, I think you're supposed to put up numbers like that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your future, short term and long term. What are you hearing right now? Are you in talks with any NFL teams? How do you feel about your prospects for being drafted or either signing a free agent deal?
Well, I feel great. I know I'm going to get a call either during the draft or after. And then, too, with Pro Day, with all the scouts coming out and watching, there's a lot of good feedback. So it's just one of them deals that you just don't, you're not really, I know for me personally, I don't really worry about it too much. The only thing I control right now is getting in shape for camp and things of that nature. And just to really have that mindset of just to lead up. That whatever team gets me is going to be a tremendous deal to them. And I'm going to show that day in and day out. I'm not the one that run this mouth all the time. I just show about work. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how all this play out.
Well, you graduated from Auburn University back in December with a degree in communications. Do you plan on using that at some point in the future? Do you have a desire to go into broadcasting, or how do you plan on using that degree?
I think this space is made for TV. I think.
I agree with you.
I think I'm gonna want to go into the television field and different things. My minor was in social work. Also, my mom used to keep kids when she was living, and so I want to do daycares and things of that nature. So I got my dream book is just go write down all my goals and dreams and all that things. I got that filled right now, so it's going to be interesting to see what I have my hands into. So I just know I'm going to be a busy person in these upcoming years.
Jeff Whitaker, former defensive lineman there with the Auburn Tigers. We wish you certainly continued success, and just can't thank you enough for joining us on Sports Call today.
Number love. Thank you for having me, man.
War Eagle. Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. More Sports Call. One final segment on today's show right after this.